What is up, ladies and gentlemen? In this video we're going to talk about the best solo queue champions in patch 9.1. This is the first patch this year, but it has hardly brought any global changes. But yet some champions, items, runes and the game itself have been slightly updated. You can learn all the details in the patch review on our website. Now let's check what champions you should play to win your solo queue games. We shall discuss not only the strongest champions for every role, but also some others. Let's start with the top lane. After patch 9.1, Ornn has completely lost all his solo queue potential. In S tier, there are 3 bruisers who are extremely powerful in solo queue and 1 tank, who has become surprisingly good and popular in this patch. All these bruisers have a high snowball potential, which makes them strong solo queue champions. Once you gain a lane advantage, it will be very easy to snowball it, leaving the enemy team no chances of stopping you. Let's start with Aatrox. This champion is popular in several positions at once. In the top lane, Aatrox is strong due to his massive damage and multiple crowd control sources. Having gained an advantage, he can easily solo carry his team in the mid game. This champion is a strong split pusher and team fighter. Now, Jax. In lane, he has a stun and a gap closer. Jax is especially good against champions who deal their main damage with auto attacks. In the mid to late game, this champion mostly tries to farm and split push, but he's very useful in teamfights as well. He could suit both advanced players and beginners. Urgot is one of the few long-range top laners. In solo queue, opponents often underestimate Urgot's damage, especially in the early game. And that's your trump card, even more so if you play with Ignite. In lane, Urgot can poke the enemies from a distance and initiate fights with his E ability or ultimate. Next comes Malphite, the only tank in our S tier list. Malphite is a perfect champion for rookies. Firstly, he's very easy to play. Secondly, even when your performance is below average, you can still be useful for your team. Malphite's strength lies in teamfights, since he can greatly influence their outcome with his ultimate. Mobile aggressive junglers who can make numerous ganks in the early to mid game still dominate the scene. As for the patch changes, we should mention Sejuani and Nasus. Unfortunately, they haven't made it to our S tier yet. All the S tier champions have a high snowball potential, which makes them perfect picks for solo queue. Your playstyle on these champions should be aggressive, so try to gank as often as you can and farm only if necessary. Graves has been one of the strongest solo queue junglers for several patches in a row. He clears the jungle pretty fast and is a great counter jungler. To earn more gold, he can either farm his and enemy jungle camps or go for numerous ganks. The latter is best for solo queue, as players often make individual mistakes. Graves is highly dependent on his items, so it's important for you to gain an advantage early on to start dealing tons of damage in the mid to late game. Graves can either build full damage or bruiser. This champion has no complex mechanics in his kit and suits both beginners and experienced junglers. Elisa's ganks are very dangerous as she has both crowd control and high damage. Her jungle clear is rather fast and Elise is a strong duelist. If she can't win a duel, she has crowd control and the ability to escape with her E when in spider form. The Spider Queen has a high snowball potential. If you gain an early game advantage, it won't be very hard to abuse it. Elise cannot be called a simple champion though. She has 2 forms, human and spider. Each form gives you 3 active abilities, so her mechanics might be difficult for beginners. Xin Zhao is a perfect choice for jungle rookies. He's got a nice jungle clear and a high gank potential. Besides, winning a duel against Xin is very difficult for most junglers. Because of that, Xin Zhao is very good at controlling the river, the crabs and the vision around the river. In the early game, Xin Zhao can make effective ganks already at level 2. With just a few core items, Xin Zhao can focus enemy tanks and protect his carries, or just break into the enemy backline and try to delete the enemy squishes. We highly recommend Xin Zhao for beginners, but he's also a great choice for experienced junglers. Nocturne isn't that one guy who can spam ganks in different lanes and destroy turret plates one by one. However, this champion has a high win rate in solo queue. When playing Nocturne, try to use your ultimate as often as possible, cause that's his main game tool. In this patch, melee champions are quite popular in the mid lane. That's why Aatrox has become one of the strongest mid laners in this patch. In our S tier, there are also 2 melee champions and 2 mages with useful ultimates. But first things first. Let's start with Galio. Mid lane Galio used to be an unkillable half tank with crowd control and roam potential. Now his abilities let him deal a huge amount of damage to both squishy and tanky targets. Galio is one of the strongest mid lane champions at the moment, so we can definitely recommend him to both beginners and skilled players. Next comes Lissandra. In lane, she has a great wave clear. Besides, her gap close and crowd control make it easy to set up ganks, especially after level 6. The ultimate can also serve as a safe tool for Lissandra. Her strong point is teamfights. All of her abilities deal area of effect damage, so better fight in narrow spaces. Lissandra has no complex mechanics and can suit both rookies and pros. Malzahar is a perfect champion for beginners. In lane he has an excellent wave clear, but of course Malzahar's ultimate remains his strong point. It allows him to do both, set up ganks for his jungler and be extremely useful in teamfights. His flash plus ultimate combo is fairly peerless. In lane, avoid aggressive plays when you have no passive shield. After level 6, you should ask your jungler for help and wait for a gank, or just push the lane and rotate to one of the side lanes to help your teammates. In the late game, Malzahar deals sufficient damage to tanks and squishes. This champion is perfect for beginners and has no difficult mechanics. Kassadin is a counterpick to many mages, but you shouldn't pick him if you don't know who your opponent is. Kassadin unlocks his full potential in the mid to late game. Till level 6, his laning phase is below average. He mostly farms and pokes his enemy with Q every now and then. His wave clear is quite poor, so your opponent will easily push the lane. As a result, you will lose lane priority. Till level 6, Kassadin is very vulnerable to enemy ganks, but once you get the ultimate, use it wisely, so that you don't get punished by the enemy jungler for excessive aggression. Kassadin is relatively difficult to play, as you need to understand mid lane matchups and be able to play passively early on. Nevertheless, we still recommend this champion to both beginners and skilled players, as mastering him is not really that difficult. So, as already mentioned, Aatrox has become a popular mid lane pick because of the large number of melee champions such as Kassadin, Galio, Talon, Zed, Yasuo and some others. Also, in champion selection it's always hard to predict what role Aatrox is about to play. Having gained an advantage, he can easily solo carry his team in the mid game. Marksmen have undergone a couple of changes in this patch. We shall start with Kalista. The developers wanted to improve her solo queue potential, but that just hasn't worked out. Kalista's win rate is still below 50%, while Vayne's buff has made her quite strong and popular. Ashe, Jinx, Sivir and Xayah have also been a bit empowered. Lucian is number 1 on our list. For several patches in a row, he's been one of the strongest marksmen. His laning phase should be aggressive. The best supports for Lucian in this meta are Braum, Pyke and Alistar. You can play this champion regardless of your rank. Our next marksperson is Miss Fortune. There are two different styles to play this champion. In the first case, you max Q and pick the Dark Harvest Keystone. This choice is good for a strong mid to late game, where you'll be dealing tons of damage with your Q ability. In the second case, you max E and pick Arcane Comet. This choice is more suitable for early game poke and minion wave control. But regardless of your keystone choice, Miss Fortune will remain a powerful marksperson due to her ultimate ability, mainly in teamfights. This champion is a nice pick for both beginners and skilled players. Ezreal's mid-game power spike makes him a good pick for solo queue. His laning phase is quite decent. He can either poke his opponent and farm or play aggressively. Vayne has become really popular after the latest patch, but this champion is rather difficult to play and is only useful in capable hands. She's especially good at killing tanks. True damage helps Vayne destroy her enemies despite all their armor. There are no big changes to the support role in this patch. In solo queue, support roles are mostly taken by aggressive champions with engage and crowd control abilities. Poke supports with high damage in teamfights can also be useful. Now, when Vayne has become so popular in the bot lane, we see peel supports such as Janna, Lulu, Nami or Soraka more often. Pyke, despite all the nerfs, is still the most powerful support in solo queue. His playstyle is absolutely different from that of the other supports. He has a reliable engage and crowd control. In addition, Pyke deals high AoE damage with his ultimate, which is especially useful in teamfights. This champion is quite difficult to master, so pick him at your own risk. Thresh is a very strong champion due to his engage potential and a few crowd control abilities. He's useful both in lane and in teamfights. Thresh is especially good against squishy targets such as Zyra or Brand. Zyra has control and significant damage to multiple targets. Same as Brand, Zyra has to choose a good position in lane and play very carefully. We do not recommend these champions to beginners as their cost of a mistake is way too high. Finally, Alistar is a powerful tank initiator. His engage potential and the ability to set up effective ganks make him an excellent solo queue pick. Besides, Alistar can make successful turret dives after level 6. This champion isn't hard to play compared to the other supports with engage tools. We can definitely suggest playing him at any rank. And that's about it for now, guys. We hope that you enjoyed this video. Remember to adapt to the meta and don't be afraid of trying new champions. On this note, as always, thank you so much for watching and good luck in your solo queue.